we're back. Yeah, I know. Sorry about that. Battery change. Anyhow, we're going to go ahead and start continuing to piece this thing together. Basically, these are here pretty much arm parts. So, going to pair everything here together. And we're going to start piecing things together. Now it looks as if this actually squeezes together and goes over a portion. So, if that's the case, then we probably need to get the rest of the parts that go to that. Noticing, as you can tell, some of the flashing here is kind of a little excessive here. Well, it kind of breaks away pretty easily. It's not bad at all, really. And then we're going to spin this portion here off the sprue if possible. And I'm going to do the same here on the other side. If I can get all this flash here off. Going to bend it down, get it out of the way. And there we go. Now we got both portions here. It looks as if this flashing probably shouldn't be in the middle of these, so I'll take a trusty file here and shove it through here and get rid of the flashing. Fairly easy, not too hard to do. Pick that flashing off there. All that bit off. And I'm going to finish punching out this other portion. Wow. Here's a bit thicker than the other one. It's just kind of making me wonder if I should have done that in the first place, but let's see here. There we go. Get that portion done. Gonna kind of file this out a little bit. I just don't want it to hinder anything when we start piecing this thing together the correct way. Okay. So this portion here is supposed to plug onto this. Then you take this and then plug it on. Kind of. This looks like really weird. It seems like I've got the wrong one here in hand. Maybe it's the other one. It is. So apparently there is a left and a right to this assembly. Try to shove this in here without any problems. Probably going to give me problems like the other one did. I literally had to go in, and as you can see, it's pushed together better now because I actually went in and stretched out the holes a little teeny tiny bit. But yeah, that's not... I want to go together all the way there. Let's try this other fist portion. Well, that's fitting together a lot better than the other one did. There we go. There we go. I know there's a bit of a gap here, but that'll get fixed. Especially when I go back through and actually paint this thing. But, there we go. Fist to the face, to the face, to the... Sorry. Anyhow. Looks like we've got... a little bit of flash here in this portion. As you can tell, these are probably going to become the shoulder bits, which they are. I tend to try to push it out with my fingers because it's not as harsh as trying to use a piece of metal or something. And then most of the time you can actually work it a little better with your own fingernails. Sometimes. But it just depends. Yeah, I know. Some people, amateur, well, whatever. Everybody's got their techniques. Anyhow. Going to work on putting this portion here together. And then we're going to push this whole portion here together. There we go. Getting a satisfying click there. There we go, we got an arm. It does have articulation too. This actually does spin. This is kind of interesting. But that's just like the original. The original one actually have the same type of articulation as this. But there we go. Got an arm. Well, let's start working on the other one. So interesting thing here is there's no real molding on either side here to tell you whether you're putting this on the right or left side. Which is kind of nice because it doesn't really leave you guessing whether you did it correctly or not. Use the desk here a little bit to make this fit. This in here doesn't really want to hold together very well. But I'll go in and tweak that in a little bit. Just trying to give you guys a general idea of what this thing looks like. As for this part here, I'm actually going to cut this one off. Because this is a wheel. And kind of wiggle this thing back a little bit here to get this one loose. Same here. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of the stuff off the sprue while I'm in here. This little block out. So I have yet to figure out what that's for exactly. I know if I looked at the instructions I might actually be able to figure it out, but I like figuring things out on my own at times. Cut these off. Okay. A little bit of flashing going on around this portion here. Gonna kind of break that up a little bit before I try cutting this off. Yeah, got that. Got that. Got that. And there we go. Got a major piece of flashing here that I'm just going to wiggle back and forth and see if I can get it to break off. I noticed something like this though, when it comes to almost every model kit, you're always going to run into possibly a flashing issue. Because sometimes what it is the mold itself squeezes out just enough plastic that it still gets cased with the sprue. So, but I mean, yeah. Although this isn't an official Takara, it's still really, really neat. And it's just like any other model kit. It's going to require some tweaking and some painting. And like I said, I'll have another video up for that after I get done doing this build. That off there. Yep. Okay. Now, I'll flip this portion here over. This is like the bottom of the jet. Obviously, you're going to put your little bitty wheels here. Hopefully flash free. Mine still has a teeny tiny amount on it, so I'm going to use some clippers here to try to get rid of the rest of that. Just because it's a little easier to snip teeny tiny bits versus trying to shove an X-Acto knife up in there. Getting rid of flash. Okay. So I'm going to push this in here gently. Same here. And same here. Trying to push this in here and it's not wanting to go. This flasher's in the way, or what's going on? Kind of kill off some of this flash in here and see if maybe I can get it to fit a little better. The key thing when it comes to putting anything together that's small like this is to take your time and be very patient about it. Because there's times that things will not fit exactly the way you want it to the very first time. So patience is a major virtue here. Now, trying to figure out how this is going to go. I believe that goes in there. Yeah, okay, I got it here. Basically what happens is this portion here shoves into here. Same here. Basically what you're doing is you're shoving these two portions here in, so that way you got, which will become arms, but they also become part of the vehicle mode. Put this block here in the center, kind of adds a little bit of weight. Then you're going to piece the entire thing together. Just like so. Trying to shove this portion here together and it doesn't want to go. My guess is the hole is too small, which it is. And it looks like this is all one diameter here, so taking the tip of this, going to kind of stick it in here and work it around. Just kind of wallering it in. That's also a terminology, basically taking it and warping out the outside of the hole, or rounding it out. Then we're going to attempt to try to put this back in here again. And I believe these two holes here need to be sticking out on the sides here. So that way when you actually insert those into the sides there, that will actually work. I just noticed that. It's a good thing I didn't clip this thing together all the way first. Alright, I'm not going to shove it together too hard because I do have some painting to do, but that's primarily what it's going to look like. Then you got this portion here. This actually, if you had the original set, this is where a Diaclone figure would actually go. And fits right there. And what's crazy about this is you can take these portions here and shove these back all the way, twist these and put them back, and it pretty much turns into a small jet fighter kind of thing. I mean, yeah, it's got fists sticking out here on the back, but if you actually had the original has firing fists, so therefore the fists wouldn't be one of the things you'd actually be seeing on this particular little starship. Anyhow, that's two of them down. Let's move on to the last one. I'm going to jump cut here, get everything off a sprue so that way we can slap this thing together. See you guys in a minute. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, everything's off its sprue. Then put together the last vehicle, and then we're going to assemble this guy into Battle Buffalo. So, first things first, gotta figure out what parts do what here. Now, it looks as if this portion here is part of an entire cockpit. And it seems like should be able to force all these bits here together, but I'm not absolutely sure how it's going to go yet. I do know for a fact that this cockpit window part here goes on here. Now, if you had the original, this portion here is obviously clear. This is supposed to be the canopy to it. I'm probably going to need to paint it like a gold, something like that. Because this guy's, these tend to have had a lot of chrome and a lot of silver on them. So, I'll try to force this in here, maybe. Let's see here. Oh. Click, click. Let's, this might end up needing some tweaking here because it's not wanting to fully close over. Let's see here. Well, that explains it. Got too much flashing in here. As you can see, it goes pretty deep in there. That side's not, so I have to work on that. Okay, just cleaned it out. Let's see if we can make this cockpit fit now. Canopy. Driver's seat. Gotta gently push it down, trying to get it so that way it fits, and you can tell it's just a big canopy. Now, this portion here clicks over this entire portion here. This kind of makes me wonder what exactly goes there. Wondering if this is supposed to just fit in here, which is probably true. So I'm gonna pry this thing down just a little bit here to make this fit, because I was silly and jumped the gun, which I tend to do a lot of. Anyhow, just hope I can pry this bit apart, and it doesn't want to come apart. I can kind of push this down just a little bit, which it obviously does not want to pop apart. Okay. Ah! Gonna break it! No! No, I really don't want to break it. It just seems like this portion here should be in there, but because if you look, it looks as if this portion here is just too wide to actually fit the correct way. Then again, it's part of my fault because I put this portion here on the bottom and I can't get it off now. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna shove this thing in here. Okay. There we go. Bottom part for it. Now, I'm going to move on to a little more difficult part here, which requires putting wheels on the axles. So how well this goes. There we go. Now this portion here that I'm putting together technically supposed to be the pullback gimmick if you had the original. There's not many people out there that's even seen this thing, let alone know what the original one looks like, so. When I eventually get one, I'll do a full-on review of it as well, but like I said, they're fairly expensive. Let's see here. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here is okay. It's supposed to go this way on top to make the buggy, but the first thing you want to do is put the antennas on. So these antennas here kind of just fit all the way up here into this little container. And put this port here. It does look really weird. It looks like I'm building a bug, which this guy's kind of got like a bug property to him, but still pretty cool. Okay, that's not going to force together at all. It's going to require some filing. Okay, if I can get this bottom wheel here to kind of just fall out, which it doesn't want to. There we go. Anyway. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of take like a screwdriver and do that. Kind of gives it a little bit more of a way to stretch out, so that way it will actually fit in the hole. I don't I don't recommend pushing too hard, because if you do, you can possibly break something. I didn't mention it, but when I did this thing here, I actually snapped a tab when I was trying to pull it loose. Not a big deal, because I'm planning on taking the thing apart anyway and repainting it and then gluing it together so it doesn't come apart. But yeah, that still doesn't want to fit right, so. And then you take this portion here, and it's supposed to just plug in over this portion here. It really doesn't want to do that very well. Now this is supposed to go this direction here. And it looks like it doesn't want to shove in there very well, so I'm going to have to file down just a tad. There we go. Alright, now on the back of this, it's supposed to have these little bits here. And these supposed to just clip on the sides here. And since these are so little, I'm kind of afraid to just shove it on here. And it looks like quite a bit of flash going on in here, so I'm going to have to there we go. Got one on. This is almost like building a prototype if you think about it, because there's so much work involved with this thing. Probably more than most of you guys are going to want to put into one, that's for sure. If you guys ever get hold of one of these, which I don't see very many people doing. It's a very, very, very temperamental set, I should say, because the plastic tolerances are good, but it is a model kit that does transform. But it's got a lot of quirks. Plus it's also hurting the crap out of my hand. Anyhow. As I'm looking here, it looks like I strained this just a little, so. Anyhow. These little things here are just guns that go on the sides here. And these actually fit pretty easily. It's kind of nice. I'm just going to leave this part off so that way I don't break nothing. Anyhow, I'm going to attempt to try to put this thing into Battle Buffalo mode, which I don't know how that's going to work very well, considering I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't know how this is supposed to work here, because this should fold up against this. I have no idea how that's even going to happen. And it looks like I put this on upside down. That explains why these are so hard. Anyhow, those are 3 vehicles. Yes, I know it's really weird because they are just kind of a bland color. But like I said, when I get around to actually painting these up, it's going to look pretty cool. I was looking at this, trying to figure out exactly how this is supposed to transform into the head portion, because this should fold onto itself, which it doesn't look like it does. Which I'm wondering if the instruction's supposed to have this thing flipped around the other way, which is a possibility. But the instructions actually show it this way, so I might actually have to play with this here a bit to figure out what to do there. But as for these portions here, these pop apart just fine. This part here plugs in just fine. I'm messing with tolerance issues here, because that's not quite big enough for that peg to fit through. Let's attempt to show this in here now. I can get it in there just a little. I'm not going to fiddle too much there because I don't want to break it. Like I said, it's the first time I'm fitting it together. So let's move his arm down like it should be. Move it forward. His arm here goes down and then forward. At this portion here is supposed to plug in something like this. But actually, I think I'm backwards. I think it does go this direction. Which, this is totally wrong. This whole portion here should be like down behind it, and these antennas should be sticking up. So I know there's something up here I'm gonna have to tweak, but as you can tell, there's like an entire crevice down in there where it actually should probably fit, and it probably should fit in like this. It's probably more accurate, but like I said, this whole thing here I'm gonna have to mess with, and I've already snapped the one bit. So, but anyhow, that's about as far as I can go with this build that I have here. I will end up posting a up-to-date video for this, so that way you guys can actually check that out. So anyhow, this has been Plasticon, and this is me signing off. Peace out, guys. Just a quickie here. Sorry guys, told you I left, but maybe I didn't. It turns out the vehicle actually has to fold the other direction. As you can see, the wheels go here. It's kind of interesting how the wheels actually fit down into the actual chest portion. So yeah, I know you can see there's some separation going on there, but I'm gonna have to tweak and play with it a little bit more. But that's how he's supposed to look. It's a very, very cool little guy. Do like him a lot. Give you guys a bit of a size comparison next to something you guys might actually have. on your shelf somewhere, or at least have a general idea. Here, let's see. Let's try. Try and give you guys a bit of a general idea. Here's a G1 cassette. It's not that tall. It's pretty cool though. And well, this is to my custom Diaplex, but it's also it's pretty much scamper. Just to give you guys a bit of an idea of how tall he is. He's got some height to him. And just because I can, here's a Diaclone fig. Just to give you guys a bit of a scale. So, anyhow, like I said, when I get this thing painted up, I'll actually do a full-on good review of it when it's all nice and not so rough. But, hope you guys enjoyed this build. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.